everyone. Welcome back to Who's There, a podcast where I talk to a new horror fan every week, where I hope to destigmatize what it means to be a horror movie fan. This week's episode is an extra long one because I got to chat with my friend Michael Robinson, who knows more about horror movies than almost anyone else I've ever met. He regularly sweeps the floor with all of us at trivia every weekend. In this episode, we talk about how he got into horror movies as a kid, how he's now introducing his kids to horror movies, what it's like to live in the home of the Blair Witch Project, Burkittsville, Maryland, where he's been on his road trips to see the filming locations of various horror movies, why he thinks Cats is the scariest movie to be released in a long time, and a whole lot more. This is a long episode, so you've been warned. So I think that's it. Let's get into this week's episode. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. I'm really excited to chat with you today. Before we get going, tell the listeners and myself a little bit about yourself, where you're from, etc.
Well, originally I grew up in Hampton, Virginia, the home of Blackbeard, or at least where he ended up, or at least where his head ended up. So currently I'm living outside the DC area in a little town called Burkittsville, Maryland, which I'm sure if you're into horror movies and whatnot, you've probably heard of. So I'm just kind of been a horror movie fan for a while, and I joined up on the Saw Something Scary group because they seemed interesting, and it's been a good group of people to hang out with while we're in the middle of The Stand.
Awesome. Yeah, Michael joins us for most weeks for horror movie trivia on Sunday nights usually, so he usually beats us all as well.
And I feel really bad about that.
I don't think you feel that bad.
No, I mean I do, because I feel kind of guilty, like I'm the jerk that comes in and wins occasionally. So I'm kind of glad that I haven't come in first the past couple of times.
You know, I mean, sometimes you let Jody win, so.
Oh no, that was what did I lose? I can't remember what I got wrong this time around. But he's much better at the Jallos, which I'm pretty sure I just mispronounced than I am.
Awesome. Well, so first things first, what's your favorite scary movie or your top 5?
Oh, top 5. There's about 15 in there, but I'll go with The Shining was up there at number 1, and I know you're not that fond of it. The Shining was number 1 for a while, to the point where when I turned 40, we, as a family, drove out to Colorado to stay in the Stanley Hotel, which a week after they put in the hedge maze, so it was only about a knee high then. But they've got a TV channel in-house that shows Kubrick's The Shining on an endless loop. So we got into our room and turned on the TV, and that was on. And she would have been like 5 at the time. It's like, oh, can we go? Is that here? Can we go to the hedge maze? They're welcome to the hedge maze. I'm going to go there. So we're like, well, it doesn't look exactly like that. And so we walked out front, and she was disappointed, and then got a little upset that we wouldn't let her watch the whole movie because she was 5. But it turns out her favorite movie is Jaws, which she picked up on around that time, which is kind of slid into my number 2, battling out with number 1 spot, just in general. I know technically it's not a horror movie.
I think it counts. Everyone counts it as a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Ben Gardner's head gets you every single time. And but I've got one friend who swears it's an adventure film. Although it could be argued that it's a police procedural. But after that, probably John Carpenter's The Thing is we've got the poster for that hanging up right next to our TV. And Guillermo del Toro's Devil's Backbone, and rounding out number 5. I don't want to throw out another Carpenter because I would say Halloween, but as far as the number 5, I gotta think of something that I let's just leave it at 4. I'll throw out Halloween there. I'm sure it'll strike me in a minute.
Okay, sounds good.
Like 15 in the top 5.
So I've never seen The Devil's Backbone, or what was number 3?
What did I say? Number three? Oh, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, I've never seen that either, but I've heard a lot about both of them. What is The Devil's Backbone about?
It is about a haunted orphanage in Spain during the Spanish Civil War, and it's sort of like it's a companion piece to Pan's Labyrinth.
Okay.
There's even two characters who appeared in Pan's Labyrinth. Um, it's really kind of a subtle appearance, and like I didn't even notice it until I listened to the commentary. He's like, "Yeah, those are the kids. Yeah, they're dead now." And so the horrible Guillermo del Toro impression, but hopefully it's passable. But it's about a haunted orphanage, and it's just Criterion released it a few years ago, and there's some genuinely creepy stuff in it, and I think it's just one of those little seen, genuinely scary movies that I try to recommend to everybody. When they ask, what horror movies do you like? You gotta see this one. Oh, it's got subtitles? Yeah, deal with it. It's good. And I think it's so little seen that Del Toro kind of copied himself for the last act of Crimson Peak. So when I was seeing that in the theater, I was like, he's just he this is all from Devil's Backbone. And then I'm not going to say what or why or how because it's spoilers, but I think I need to give Crimson Peak another shot just because I was kind of irritated the first time I saw it, but because I was like, this is so similar to what you did before.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Is it streaming anywhere?
I honestly have no idea. It might be.
Okay. I'll have to look it up so I can watch it. I was just watching the Blair Witch Project 2 before we started recording because I thought that was kind of like a good prep for this.
I haven't seen that in a good 20 years.
I don't think I've ever seen it. It's so like late 90s, early 2000s horror though. It's great. I mean, the main character he has a desk with computers and it's covered in floppy disks.
God, so, is that Jeffrey or
what?
Is that Jeffrey Donovan? Guy went on to do Burn Notice.
I haven't seen Burn Notice, but I think I was looking at the cast and it is Jeffrey Donovan, I believe. So, yeah, it's quite weird. I haven't seen Blair Witch since I saw it in theaters in 1999, but yeah, I decided I should watch this one because I'm about to talk to the guy from Burkittsville.
Well, not from Burkittsville. I've only lived here about 3.5 years.
Oh, okay.
But I know that the town, I think, may actually have more issues with Blair Witch 2 than they do with the first one. But I don't know if I can fully articulate that. But I know that the current mayor is in Blair Witch 2.
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched it since I looked like literally. I haven't seen that in about as long as you've seen the first one, so yeah. I don't remember a whole lot about that one.
Okay. Wait, did you move to Burkittsville because it was the place where Blair Witch was filmed?
No, not really. When we moved up here, like after my oldest daughter was born, we moved to a town about 10 minutes away called Brunswick, which turns out more of the Blair Witch Project was filmed in Brunswick than was filmed in Burkittsville. Because Burkittsville, you just got the shot of the welcome sign, the little scene in the cemetery, and that's it. Like most of the interviews were done in Brunswick, and when we watched it after moving there, we were sitting around watching it, and it's like, wait a minute, that's like a block from our house, and the diner, which has been closed for 15 years at least, is in Brunswick. But my sister-in-law moved up to Burkittsville a few years before we did, and it's just because they didn't care about the movie, and we really like the town. It's nice and small and quiet. There's about 150 people that live here, and it's just really, it gets dark at night, and we just really like it. We plan on being here for a while, trying to get a plot at the cemetery too. So we're going to be here for the long haul.
Nice. Yeah, I was actually looking at it on the map, and it's like very, very small. And to hear that it's only 150 people, that blows my mind since I live in New York City.
Yeah, yeah, and it's weird because like everybody thinks, oh, because hearing the stories about the fans coming to the town back 20 years ago and trashing the place, and you get the impression that everybody that lives here is a bunch of hicks, and that's just not the case at all. It's really cool, and especially during Pride Month. Like half the towns, half the houses in town have the Pride flags out in front of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
You get to hear people riding their bikes and go, "What? Why are there so many?" Well, it's because it's cool here.
Yeah. All right. So getting back to you being a horror aficionado, I kind of think of you as like a black hole of obscure facts in the best way possible. And I know you have memorabilia and posters all over your house. So tell me, how did this obsession begin, and what was the first horror movie you ever saw?
I've been trying to think about that because I was talking to my wife yesterday. I was like trying to think about how when I was a kid, there's things I distinctly remember being afraid of, like there's a shot of David Bowie in The Hunger. And I couldn't even tell you what it is. I just knew it was like that may have been my first exposure to David Bowie, and it's just like him either super aged, and I've never seen the film, but I remember when I was a kid, I saw that image and it stuck with me. And like there was the scene with the little vampire kid in Salem's Lot scratching at the window. Like for some reason, I saw that when I was a kid, and that stays with you. And but it's just these weird little like memories of little things that I found scary when I was a little kid. Like, and even there was a Tom Lehrer song on the Electric Company that mentioned Dracula, and when it was like the Dracula's in your room, and then after that I was like, oh, it's time to go to your room, and it was down the end of this dark hallway, and I just remember being petrified of going down there. So, but I would also get books from the elementary school library about the old not Hammer, but the Universal horror movies. And they're these little square black and white books with like an orange cover on the back for some reason. So I'd always read those, but I never really saw any scary movies, except I distinctly remember my parents taking me to see The Last Unicorn after Thanksgiving one year in the theater. And like the harpy or whatever it is in the cage in the the traveling carnival, I just remember being just the most terrifying thing I could think of. And so it was like, oh yeah, Michael's scared of seeing movies. And then at one point in the mid '80s, we started seeing TV commercials for Fright Night, and I think it was either my mom or my dad were just like, oh, it looks like a Michael movie. And I'm like, you know what? I think it is. So I got them to buy me the novelization, and I eventually saw it on VHS. And I think that it wasn't the first horror movie I saw in the theater, but it was definitely like the first movie that kind of like clicked with the oh, this is the type of thing that you're going to like.
So do you think that your parents telling you beforehand this is a Michael movie helped influence your opinion and be like, yeah, I'm going to like this?
Yeah, I mean, mainly I did it out of spite, but it because I think they were just, I'm pretty sure they were just messing with me. But yeah, I think that may have been the little thing that made little, I don't even know what year that came out. So I want to say it was maybe a 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit older, which was about the time that like Stephen King, you can kind of discover Stephen King, but I discovered Stephen King through Stand By Me. So we watched that, and I was like, I got to read this book. And so and that was the first Stephen King I ever read, which led to Shawshank, and then the scary stuff. But
just to be clear, you told me during trivia last week to ask you about the Fright Night story. Was that the Fright Night story?
That is the Fright Night story.
Okay.
My parents messing with me to telling me that looks like something you would like, and then me out of spite latching onto it.
Yeah.
I should probably watch it again. I can't remember the last time I actually watched it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it. What is it about?
It's this kid who likes horror movies has a vampire moving next door.
Oh.
and it's played by Chris Sarandon. He in the remake, it's Colin Farrell, but he goes to a local horror movie host and tries to convince him that there's actually a vampire living next door, and they need to take him out. But
Oh, that sounds cool. Is it like horror comedy or?
I don't remember there being a lot of funny stuff in it, but it's good, like 80s horror movie.
The only 80s horror movie that I've seen that I actually like is like Nightmare on Elm Street. So
yeah, it's a little. It's just, yeah, I think it might be a little have aged into being a little more campier than that, but it's got Chris Sarandon, so
yeah,
he's always working.
So what would you say are your favorite franchises and why?
It's weird because I'm not really a franchise guy. There's because when I was in high school, I would see all the sequels in theater. Like I would go see like I know I saw some of the Friday the 13th and the Halloween sequels in theater. And I think I saw Hellraiser 2, which I really probably should not have snuck into, but I did it anyway. But I would say probably it's going to end up being Halloween. And that's really weird. It's a really weird franchise to begin with because it's essentially choose your own adventure. And you can, but I mean, I would watch the first one all the time when I was like in middle school because it was like, oh, it's all the slasher movies. This would have been about mid to late 80s. So I kind of fell away from Halloween until I was in college and we showed it on the campus movie theater. And I was like, and seeing it in the crowd with a crowded theater, it's a genuinely scary movie. It's very simple, but it works. And if it's with a crowd of people, and I'm assuming a lot of them had never seen it before, it really, really works on an audience. So a little bit later, I showed it to my wife with a friend of mine, and we ended up Mystery Science Theatering it, which kind of ruined it for her. And so for a good 15 years, we didn't watch Halloween because she's like, this movie, I can't take it seriously because you ruined it for me, which is fair. And then my oldest daughter decided, after she had sort of discovered horror movies and horror, was like, I want to see Halloween. And this was fall of 2018. So like the Alamo Drafthouse is showing the original one. I will take you to go see that. And she's like, okay. And it was the week before the 2018 version came out. So on Wednesday, we went down and saw the 1978 Halloween. And then on Saturday, we went and saw the new one. It was like, you only had to wait like 3 days. And everyone else had to wait 40 years to see this thing. So through my daughter, I started like reevaluating, I've started appreciating Halloween a lot more. And I always kind of appreciated it, but like seeing it through her perspective, it's been really cool because like she really likes Jamie Lee Curtis, and which is the proper reaction. But so unfortunately, got to wait another year for the third one. But I've taken her to conventions to meet Nick Castle, and she went up to Philadelphia to Comic-Con with a couple friends of hers, and they were going there to see Tom Holland, and she was going there to meet John Carpenter. So that, I think the Halloween franchise, I'm probably the one I'm the biggest on, but probably only the current timeline, and which is only 2 movies. But it's like with Friday the 13th, they were never great.
Yeah.
I don't see the appeal anymore. Middle school Michael would not be happy with me about that. And I really want to like A Nightmare on Elm Street a lot more than I do now. But we just got a box set of the Final Destination movies, so I think we're probably going to go through those. I like the first one, the fifth one, and then we got a box set of Tremors movies. So I've only never seen past the first one, but that should be fun.
Yeah, I've also only seen the first Tremors, and I thought it was cheesy. So I'm glad that
Well,
you like them.
well, I mean, I also saw the first one in the theater when it was new. It's badly framed by the projectionist, so you could see the camera track in the upper corner of the screen and occasionally see the mic dip in.
Oh,
But
man. What year was that?
1990, maybe 89. I can't remember. I would check the Trivial Pursuit, but they probably have the year wrong.
Yeah, you found that a couple of questions in the Trivial Pursuit are incorrect.
Yeah,
right?
they listed Ghostbusters as coming out in 1986, and that was definitely 84. Because I saw that in the theater when I was 9.
Yeah,
and if it turns out I'm wrong about the year on that, you can edit that out. But I'm pretty sure that had to have been, because it was Gremlins and Ghostbusters came out the same year.
Okay. Yeah, I watched Gremlins like a couple months ago, and it was cute.
Yeah.
They're so adorable.
Yeah.
This leads me to my next question, which is, does your wife like horror movies?
She does, and she does very much so. She won't go to the. We'll occasionally go to. Well, not occasionally. I'm not going to lie about that. But yeah, we'll go to conventions, which has been kind of nice. A friend of mine got. It's like, God, it must have been 99 was the first one that we went to, because it was like, hey, Christopher Lee's here and Ray Harryhausen and Janet Leigh. Let's go see them, and I'm glad we did. But my wife used to come along with them, and she's just like, I can't deal with this anymore. It's packed hallways and crowded convention centers and hotels. It's just like, nah, this is not my thing. I'm not going to go to this. But my kids like doing it now. So, but no, she does like horror movies.
What was the last movie that you guys watched together?
Well, we showed our oldest Dead Alive the other night. I don't want to cut Cody's too much, but it was definitely we had our youngest was spending the night with a friend, so we're like, okay, we can watch something that she can't. So let's watch this. And I should have gotten some custard out, but we didn't have any. But it's a gooey movie. And
yeah, I remember you saying that.
I'd forgotten how just gross that thing is. And there were some parts where my daughter was just like, Academy Award winner Peter Jackson, where you see like a zombified colon just like admiring itself in the mirror. Yeah, that happens. And that's the last thing we watched at home, but we've been trying to catch up on some things over the summer that like, we've never seen this. Let's see this, but it's not just horror movies.
What kind of movies are you catching up on?
Well, I'd never seen Buster Keaton's The General, and I'm kind of upset now that I've seen it that it took me 45 years to get around to it. And we watched The Night of the Hunter, which it's Charles Laughton's only film as a director. He was married to Elsa Lanchester and tried to get her to be in it, but she refused, and the reasons are still unknown as to why she refused. But it's this weird 50s movie that is inspired like half the Coen brothers stuff is inspired by it, and it's the one where you get it's about a preacher who is not a good person, and he basically marries women and murders them for their money, and he gets caught and sent to prison, and his cellmate has hidden a bunch of money at his house or somewhere on his property. So after he gets out, he goes and basically marries into his cellmate's family and pursues his children for this money. And it's weird. It's got like all this. It'll go from German expressionism to naturalism, and it's where you get the whole love and hate tattooed on the knuckles thing from, and it's Robert Mitchum plays the guy, and he's scary, but it's you see stuff like there's a line in it. We had just watched Raising Arizona the week before, and we watched it, and there's a line in it that's quoted in Raising Arizona, and I was like, holy crap, they're like, this has influenced everything. And there's this hymn that he sings throughout his pursuit of the children that's used as one of like the main musical motifs in True Grit. And
can you say it?
What? No, I cannot. But he does this thing where when he's trying to track down the children, he's just like, children, children. And so that's how we call our kids down to dinner now, and at least one of them hates it.
That's awesome. How old are your kids?
15 and 10.
Oh, nice. So since your wife is also into horror movies, I'm assuming it wasn't a big deal to frame and hang a bunch of horror movie posters around your house?
No, I mean, we met at a movie theater, so the movie stuff has kind of always been a thing. In our old house, in our dining room, we painted the walls red and hung all of our George Romero zombie posters up. And also, we had like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre hanging in our dining room, which we'd gotten Gunnar Hansen to sign it. So it's like, I know where you live.
Wow, that's awesome.
So no, it's never really been a big issue with bringing them. I wouldn't say like the first one, but maybe the most recent ones she may have had an issue with.
Which ones are those? What movies?
Well, we've got a Bride of Frankenstein poster up in our TV room, and it's done by an artist out of Philadelphia. His name's Tom Whalen. He's good. We like him. We've got a bunch of his stuff. And I had gotten a What We Do in the Shadows poster print, and I kind of replaced it. She's like, no, that's no, I like looking at the Bride. So that one doesn't get moved. And she was right. So I took it down and put the Bride of Frankenstein back up, and I've been too lazy to actually hang it in the proper place for I don't want to say how long, because I've honestly forgotten.
I mean, what else do you have to do? We're in lockdown.
I've got to build a deck. We when we moved in, there was there's a really the most frightening thing about our house was there was a hot tub on the deck out back when we moved in, and it was gross, so we tore it out, and there was this big empty hole in the middle of the deck. So we ended up this year thinking, hey, we've got nothing else to do with lockdown, so we tore down the deck, and we've been slowly rebuilding it. So that takes precedence over hanging posters up, but hopefully I will be finished with the main part of it this weekend.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then I can put up Halloween stuff throughout the house.
Yes. And do you decorate a lot for Halloween?
What
is the area like that you live in? Is it like, are there a lot of houses on the street? Is it all woods?
There, contrary to popular belief, there's very little woods in Burkittsville itself. Most of it is in like everybody thinks that Burkittsville is in the middle of the forest because of the movie, which they shot in a state park and up near Baltimore. But there's a little patch of woods, and that's like right up against our yard. And I would love to have just some Blair Witch fans come out and gather up our yard waste from all the sticks and stuff, just so they can make little stick people. But it's around Halloween. It's fun. I don't know what it's gonna be like this year, but we usually do a Halloween party at our place. But trick-or-treating is always fun because it looks like what you think of as like classic trick-or-treating with because the town looks old. It's everything is old buildings, and there's I remember the first year we actually did trick-or-treating here, which was before we even moved up here. We still have pictures of our kids going up and down the streets and people doing. But I mean, I've already started hanging my Halloween like jack-o'-lantern things that we picked up at Michael's this year that I need to get some lights in. And we've got just boxes and boxes of stuff that need to come out. But I mean, we've got horror movie stuff up throughout the house anyway, so it's not really that much of a change. And it's what they said on The Simpsons, where the one time of year where the natural squalor of our house is considered decorations, which is completely quoted, but
it's always Halloween at your house.
Yeah. I mean, I'm literally looking at a Michael Myers mask right now. So,
is it an actual one from the movie? Is it like a prop?
It's a replica.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I have close to like a real thing is the Burkittsville sign, which I don't own it. It's more of a caretaker thing because I asked the town because I am the fan liaison for Burkittsville, which it's a volunteer position. I think it's mainly because nobody else. What's that? There's
no pay?
Oh no. It's a small town in the middle of Maryland. There's no budget for that, but and I genuinely like the fans. I've met some really good people through it. There's a friend of mine, Matt Blasey, who, God, I hope I didn't mispronounce his last name. I'm sure he will tell me if I did.
Let us know, Matt.
Yeah, but he does a thing called the Blair Witch Experience every year, where he will take a bunch of people through all the filming locations throughout Maryland. It's usually a weekend in October. I don't think it's happening this year for obvious reasons, but it's a lot of fun to get people who are in the cast. The director, one of the co-directors, still lives in the area, and he comes out. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and he's gone a long way to make it so that the evil Blair Witch fans that trash the town myth is not true. And we've had a lot of them like help with stuff. Like our post office burned down in December, and we had a lot of Blair Witch fans contribute money to help some of the people whose apartment next door burned down and they got displaced. And yeah, it's great. And it's so there's this whole myth that Burkittsville here hates the Blair Witch Project, and I don't think it's completely true. I think there's a little bit of wariness. I can't speak for the people that were here in '99. I have talked to some of my neighbors who are like, "Oh yeah, we had fun with it," and then others who are just like, "They trashed the place." But so I think there's a little bit of truth on both ends. But 20 years later, most people that come out are respectful.
They're probably adults now. So
yeah, no, you get a lot of teenagers, and it's a lot of people who've discovered the movie. And I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, we were in Target. I was in Target with my oldest daughter when she was still in elementary school. She's like, "Dad, there's this movie people in school are talking about called Blair Witch Project, and it's about these people in Burkittsville, and they go missing. And is that true?" And we were walking around the corner in the toy aisle, and I turned the corner, and there was Ed Sanchez, the co-director of the movie, with his kids. Really wanted to go, "Well, why don't you go ask him?" But that was that. I was just like, "Nah." Like, he'll be able to tell you. Yeah, eventually, she got to meet him properly, and he's a good guy.
That's good to hear. So I'm assuming she's seen the Blair Witch Project.
Yes. She's seen it twice.
Okay. Was she very scared, or was she like, what's all the hype about?
Well, the first time we watched it was after we moved here, and the second time we watched it was last October, where they did a 20th anniversary screening up in Frederick, Maryland, and it was really like there was cast there. I think Mike came down. I got him to.
Thought they were all dead.
Oh well, they were life model decoys that came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although Mike came out of the main three, and I got him to sign the poster down in the corner, because if you're going to get him to sign a poster for that, it's got to be in the corner. And a lot of the crew and some of the people that get interviewed at the beginning were out there, and it was cool seeing it in a theater with a crowd, because there's a lot of people that hate that movie. It was cool seeing it with a packed house of people who got it and liked it. Yeah. And that was it was cool. But seeing it in the theater, driving home, she got a little freaked out, and I'm like, well, what's wrong? She's like, well, we just watched Blair Witch, and we're driving to Burkittsville. I'm like, it's fake, or it's not true. You literally just met the guy from the end of the movie, and she's like, I know, but it works. and then we went camping the next day. So.
Oh my God, she is brave. I would never have done that ever.
Well, she's also the person who, like, my wife showed her Final Destination right before she was about to fly to Europe on a school trip.
Oh, so, yeah, I remember you telling me that. That was really considerate of your wife.
Yeah. I was like, are you really going to do this? Mm-hmm. So.
And make sure right before she takes her driving test, you show her number 2.
Oh, great. Well, that's coming up way too quick. And I thought you were going to say show her David Cronenberg's Crash, and I'm like, that's not going to happen.
No, I think the opening to Final Destination 2 is way scarier.
Oh, right. I think that's the reason why I always get out of the lane when there's a log truck in front of us.
Yep, exactly. If you've seen Final Destination 2, you know what we're talking about.
Yep. Or The Descent.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Anytime I see a truck with logs, I'm like, nothing good can happen.
Or even just now, the Babadook's something different that happens badly at the beginning of that, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any logs involved.
Yeah. I know I wish I watched that again.
Yeah, it's good. I need to make my boyfriend watch it because he has never seen it, and he's always like, what's the big deal? And I'm like, no, it's very good.
Play it, turn out all the lights, and don't pause it at all, because it's just accumulating just creepiness.
I have a couple more questions about the Blair Witch Project.
Sure.
Sorry, I know we've talked about it a lot, but you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, it's weird because usually when we're at a convention and people are like, oh, where are you from? Oh, yeah, we're from Burkittsville, Maryland. Or we live in Burkittsville, Maryland, because I can't say that we're from here.
Yeah.
And it's like you're a little bit of royalty. So, and he wrote this massive book about the making of Blair Witch Project called 8 Days in the Woods that came out last year. My friend Matt.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. Wait, let me write
it is. You can stun a burglar with it. It's a big book.
When you first decided to move up to Burkittsville, did you rewatch the movie before you did, or?
No, because we always had it, so we didn't watch it until after we moved in. Because I worked at a theater in '99, so it's kind of always been there for 20 years, and like we made stick figures and hung them out in front of the theater. And I still have an angry letter from a parent whose kid got scared of that. But no, we didn't rewatch it. I mean, because at that point we already knew what was shot there and what was shot where. So, yes. And I get why people don't like the movie, but I living here and watching it again. I mean, I do. I appreciate the film. I think it's an important film, and it's something that there's a lot of stuff that came out, even the same month that came out, that people aren't talking about.
Like
21. The remake of The Haunting.
Oh yeah. Oh, I kind of like that movie, even though.
Have you seen the original?
I haven't seen the original. No.
Really good. And but I have not watched The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix yet, and I really know that I should. Yeah,
you should. You have all the time in the world. Quarantine. Let's go.
Yeah, with Bly Manor coming out.
Yeah. Did you see any Turning, the adaptations of the Turning of the Screw?
I didn't. I haven't. Although I understand that if I really want to hate something, I should probably watch that. We did go see Gretel and Hansel out earlier this year.
How was that?
I don't think Jeff and Derek are completely wrong on it. I was inclined to like it. I haven't seen Blackcoat's Daughter or I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, but I was inclined to like it just based on Osgood Perkins directing it because I like his dad. I'm not sure I could recommend it to anybody, but Sophia Lillis is great in it. It looks great. It's just kind of oblique and hard to get through at times.
All right. Well, yeah, I haven't seen it. It's on my list, even though I know it's not very good per se. And for anyone who doesn't know that's listening, Jeff and Derek are the hosts of Saw Something Scary, another horror movie podcast. So go check that out.
Sorry, I just steered it way away from the Blair Witch questions, didn't I? Although I guess Council was about.
You said last week during trivia that you were going to have people over to watch the Blair Witch Project in the woods in your backyard.
Yes, that is the plan. I don't think it's going to be that many people.
Obviously.
Because we do have to do some social distancing and I think I've got a long enough extension cord to set up the projector out there, but that's hopefully going to happen in October because we are going to try to do the 31 days of Halloween and watch something scary every night. And so yeah, that's that is in the works. Hopefully it won't be. I should probably warn our neighbors, although they're not. It's probably not going to be that loud enough to really irritate anybody. So yeah, I just think it'd be cool to watch it in the woods, here. And,
yeah, no, that sounds like it would be amazing.
Yeah, and if it works, we'll see doing it for bigger crowds. Maybe not on our property, but but the 25th anniversary is coming up in 2024, and which is also the 200th anniversary of Burkittsville.
Oh, so, no way.
It'd be nice if we could do something to celebrate both of them.
Yeah. Do your neighbors live very close to you, or are they?
We're on 2 acres, so there's a little bit of distance, but where we would have to set up the screen, I think could probably be. I don't know how. I haven't tested it out yet, so I'm not quite sure how loud it will get. Mm-hmm. But probably wouldn't really annoy the neighbors too much. Might also want to give them a heads up. But yeah, I mean, it's not like it's like, yeah, we're bringing 50 people over to watch the movie that everybody hates.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll social distance. That sounds awesome. What has it been like during COVID in Burkittsville?
It's been very quiet. There's been no cases here.
Oh, okay. Wow.
150 people.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Things I shouldn't say out loud. The worst thing is they did shut down the playground, which has been real, but it's just been a lot of not really a whole lot different.
Yeah. Did anything shut down besides the playground? Did like shops or anything shut down? School?
There really aren't any shop. Well, there's one shop in town, but that has reopened. There's the South Mountain Heritage Society, which has a little museum in one of the churches in town. They haven't reopened yet, but yeah, there's really not there's no restaurants. There's no all the schools in the area that my kids go to. They're still on distance learning. So it's been it's been an ideal place to be stuck. If not that there's not been any stories out there about people stuck in Burkittsville and unable to leave.
So you take a lot of horror movie vacations and road trips with your family. Where did you go this summer, and what did you see?
Well, we went to Hell because I figured it was 2020, and that's the best place to go. Hell, Michigan. It's well worth driving the 10 hours to do a dad joke. But on the way out there, we stopped at the Mansfield Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. Or it was the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio, where they filmed Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, wow.
Which I would recommend anybody go to, because it's really kind of weird, because it's this giant not really abandoned Gothic prison, and about a third of the tour is about the history of the prison. A third of the tour is Shawshank, and they've got sets from the film that are still intact that I wasn't expecting. We turned around the corner and there's Brooks's room, and it's like, yeah, this is where they shot it. This is what it looks like then. It's what it looks like now. And then another third of the tour is about all the paranormal stuff that's supposed to happen there, and there's some genuinely creepy rooms even in the daylight. So I would love to go back and do it overnight, but because I gotta say I am a skeptic, even though I've may have seen or heard some stuff I can't explain, but I can't say I definitely believe in ghosts. But I don't know, that might change things. But then we did a trip down through Kentucky and went to Mammoth Cave National Park, which is stunning, because in addition to the horror movie locations and things like that, we like to do the national parks, which it's taken way too long for us to start taking advantage of. But Mammoth Cave is very cool, and like all of their merch has bats on it, so it's that's a lot of fun. And on the way back, we stopped in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to see the Mothman Museum.
Nice.
and the Mothman statue, and it's exactly the tourist trap you think it is, but it's well worth checking out. And West Virginia is weird because it seems like every county has its own little monster. There's the Flatwoods Monster Museum, which we did not get a chance to stop at, but a friend of mine got me a candle holder of the Flatwoods Monster. That was but it's West Virginia's got a lot of weird stuff in it that we want to check out.
Oh, I believe you.
Yeah.
What's the furthest distance you've ever driven to see something from a horror movie or a story?
That would be Colorado.
Oh, to the Overlook?
Yeah, to the Overlook. And although we stopped at the Dawn of the Dead Mall on that trip and on the trip we just took, we stopped at the Dawn of the Dead Mall, the Night of the Dead Cemetery. But yeah, that was the big one, going out to the Overlook.
Did you get to stay there?
Yeah, we stayed there. We didn't stay in room 217. That's for next time, because it is right at the entrance to Rocky Mountain National Park, which we did not go to. I would love to go back. It's really cool. It's like it's almost like Disney's Haunted Mansion on the inside.
Yeah.
And we did the ghost tour there, which was disappointing. But,
why was it disappointing?
Well, it kind of goes back to the whole like being skeptical.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like, yeah, if you go in a room and you turn all the lights out and you just wait there for 10 minutes, any ambient light is going to start getting processed by your brain and you'll start seeing stuff. And it's like, I know how this shtick works, but I wouldn't say not to do it. But I kind of wish we had done the history tour instead of the paranormal. But,
oh, well, next time.
Next time.
Yeah. Do you know where you're going to be going next summer on your road trip?
Hopefully, I'm trying to hit all 50 states before I turn 50. So I think we're going to do a northern stretch up through the Dakotas and going down to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. It's still kind of in the early planning stages. So we'll see how that works out.
Are there any horror movie sites in the Dakotas?
Not that I've found yet. There is, I'm sure there are, but none that I've unless you count Mount Rushmore, or what happened in Sturgis last month, or how many people got infected from that rally.
And there were weren't there a couple more rallies recently where there were no face masks? There was one in North Carolina.
Oh yeah, think I saw that headline and I didn't read this is going to go down a weird rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's fine. Our current country is a horror movie in its own way.
Yes, The Dead Zone.
When are you going to come to New York and see all the haunted stuff here?
When is it safe to come up there?
Well, for you, not right now.
Okay. Right. That and the kids want to see all the Hamilton locations. So I think we're actually going to be going to Monticello in a few weeks. So all the Virginia stuff is right here. So Charles Lee's house is 20 minutes from where we live. It's got a little historical plaque in front of it, but it's not open to the public. But apparently he died in Philadelphia and they just buried on a trip and they just buried him there. So
got to be economical about these things.
There wasn't really, refrigeration.
Do you have any favorite horror directors?
Del Toro. I really like Guillermo del Toro. I like what I've seen so far from Robert Eggers. I'm wearing a Lighthouse shirt right now.
That movie was so weird.
Yeah, God, I saw that one in the theater. I like Carpenter's early stuff. I don't want to say Stanley Kubrick because he only really did one horror movie, although I think there's elements of scary things in a lot of what he did, just as far as like human nature is concerned. Let's see. As far as right now, like I like what Jordan Peele's doing. I'm curious to see the new Candyman. I know he's producing it. Nia DaCosta's directing, so I haven't seen anything that she's done, but I'm very interested to see what they're doing. I'm sure there's others, and I can't think of them off the top of my head. Like I like James Whale and Todd Browning's stuff in the 30s. You said you haven't seen The Thing?
I haven't seen The Thing, no.
Yeah, the thing is, it's good. It's wait till it gets cold. Or just turn the air conditioning up. But Keith David's great, and it's weird how many horror people like have some association with Mr. Rogers because he was on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for a bit.
I did watch that as a kid.
Yeah. It may have been after that because I think it was like the early 80s, and like George Romero's first directing thing was a Mr. Rogers Gets a Tonsillectomy, which is kind of hard to find, but yeah, it was like knowing that Fred Rogers and George Romero were friends like that's nice. That's
nice / weird.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's like most of the people I've met who are in working in the genre or even fans of the genre are genuinely just nice people. And like I found that the people that play the scary people and tend to be really nice. And like Gunnar Hansen was a sweetheart, and I wish he was still around.
You have kids, obviously, we've been talking about it, and you said over Instagram the other day that you never forced horror on your daughter, and I think that was a good idea because as a former kid myself, I automatically disliked anything that my parents liked. So how did she go about discovering horror organically?
I don't know. Well, and I've been thinking about it since writing that. It's like, well, maybe I did force it on her more than I thought I did, because I did take her to the Exorcist steps, and then I've got pictures of her with George Romero, and I took her to New Jersey to meet Alice Cooper when she was like 6, and
these are normal things for a 6-year-old.
Oh yeah, and it was. I think it was at that point where she started getting scared of all the stuff that was on display at the convention, and she's like, I don't want to do this. And then they're like, all right, we're not going to do it. But then a couple years later, she started and it was about the same age that I was when I started liking scary stuff in earnest. And she like, all right, I will encourage this if this is what you're interested in. And I remember what it's like. Try not to watch the crap. And it's been nice seeing her develop her own tastes and stuff. And like during trivia, there's stuff that she knows the answers to immediately that I'm like, I don't know that at all. But
yeah, she's yelling out the answers sometimes. What was the first horror movie that you watched together?
I can't remember. Like at home, was it 2017? I guess. It was just about when she started discovering stuff discovering like this is something I'm interested in. A friend of mine got tickets to an early screening of it. So I was like, "Do you want to see it?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, "Yeah." All right, okay, I'll take you. So I think the first horror movie I saw with her in the theater was it, and it was about 2 weeks before it came out. So they're like, "Here's a T-shirt and a pen. You tell people how much you like it. Don't say anything bad." We're like, "Yeah, I liked it," except for them kind of giving all of Mike Hanlon's character to Ben. And I think I said that in line after the movie. I was like, I don't like that they what they did with Mike, but her sister will take her to see Jaws every year. But the last thing we saw, I took her to see The Hunt.
Fun.
The weekend before everything shut down, we saw that in the theater, and it was supposed to be a Sturgill Simpson weekend because I was supposed to see him in concert that weekend too, but that got shut down, which was probably for the best. Yeah. I mean, like he had it then, so.
God.
But yeah, I took her to see. We saw The Dead Don't Die last, which I like a lot.
I've heard mixed things.
I don't know. It hits. I don't know if it's good, but like it hits me. It's like I'm just the right wavelength. I'm like, all right, I enjoy this. This is ridiculous. I think if you go into it thinking that everything with Tom Waits and Tilda Swinton is documentary footage, and they just made a zombie movie around it, then it works a lot better. But I've got a friend from college who's played one of the zombies, like the first zombie through the hardware store.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, I didn't even recognize you in that. And he's like, here's my effects head. I was just taking my kid to see scary stuff in the theater. But,
yeah.
Because I think my dad did that to me when I was about her age, just to kind of indulge.
You have a bunch of animals, which I'm very jealous of because I wish I had the room for a bunch of animals.
I can send you.
I mean, I could rescue them all, but this is my living room, and then next door is my bedroom, and that's it.
I can send you half of them.
No, that's very gross. That is my hard line. I do not do cruelty to animals in movies.
In movies. How about
and in real life.
Oh yeah, no, that's not cool at all. No, I was just like, how about books?
No, I don't want to read about it. That's why I won't read it, because I hear that the bully, he like tortures animals in the books.
Oh, I forgot about that. All right, I was going to recommend The Only Good Indians, but I think there would be several triggering parts of that. I would say, actually, probably the entire premise might be a little upsetting.
I will put it on my banned books list.
It's very good, but animal stuff might.
But you have two cats with horror movie related names. You have a ginger named what?
The kids named him Jones.
That's basically Jonesy.
Yeah, well, we watched Alien. We had ended up watching Alien right before we adopted him, and when we walked into the shelter, they were just like, "That's Jonesy." I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess that's him," and that's his name now. And his original name was Doug, so it's kind of Doug Jones, and he's very skinny, so that also fits in with Doug Jones.
And then you recently rescued a black cat, and did he just show up on your porch? You said
our neighbors found him under their car, and I think he was about 6 weeks old, so he was wee. And we kind of kept him in my kid's room for a bit, and we couldn't figure out a name for him, so for the longest time. But he likes to attack people with his claws while they're sleeping, so she decided to name him Freddy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and then we got another black cat that it was before 2018. I was like, oh, we should name him T'Challa. And then not thinking that the Black Panther was coming out, and then everybody would be naming their black cats that. So kids decided to name him Vigo the Cat Pathian. He will come in at 5 a.m. and scratch at the window like the kids from the Salem's Lot miniseries. So that wasn't fun the first time that happened.
I'm sure, yeah. One of my cats likes to jump on me in the morning and bite my face. He would like breakfast.
See, our cats, Freddie's got the feline HIV, so we have to keep him in the house. But the other ones will go out and take birds apart. So we'll find bits
Yeah.
And so they do their own breakfast, and then they'll come in.
And does your dog have a horror movie related name?
Unless you count Jack as a horror movie name. That was his name when we met him. So we just he just seems like a Jack. But I could also see him chasing the cats around with an axe.
So this is a self-serving question that I'm starting to ask everyone. If you sit down at night and you decide you want to watch a horror movie, how do you pick one? There are so many streaming options now.
See, I don't know if I would go with anything streaming because we've got Hulu, we've got Netflix, we've got a library of discs, and I think we got my kid's Shudder account. Usually I've got a whole list of stuff I've never seen before that I feel like I should see, or like I want to see. I was like, oh, that look like when Little Monsters came out last year. I was like, oh, that looks fun. So it's got Lupita Nyong'o in it, and she's great. We should watch this. I haven't watched it yet. So it's either going to be I would probably try to pull something up that's not 3 hours long, which is why I have not watched the director's cut of Dr. Sleep yet. Because if it's late, and unfortunately I don't do late anymore very often. Even trivia can be kind of rough. I know they're on Central Time, but it's like I used to run a midnight movie series when I worked at a movie theater, and I can't even imagine staying up that late anymore.
Yeah,
but
no sign.
I'm also not in my early 20s anymore, but so I'd probably try to pick up something short that I've never seen, or just go to one of the standards that we normally do. It's like we've got certain types of things that we would watch at certain times of the year, like The Thing when it's cold, or I can't think of anything else. Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre when it's really hot. That was on our destination list for this past spring that didn't happen because of 2020. We were going to go to Austin and go to the gas station and then the house, which are both restaurants now.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So hopefully next year, maybe the year after that, because I haven't been to Texas yet.
Yeah, I've never been to Texas either. I do want to go to Austin.
Which is also this like we've added like hitting the national parks and also presidential grave sites, and there's two right near Austin. Lyndon Johnson and George Bush are like on either sides of the city.
Yeah. So when it comes to watching horror movies, do you have any hard limits? Is there anything you won't watch, or will you watch just about anything?
There's a lot of like the 21st century, like the French extreme movies that I have no interest in watching. Like Martyrs. I feel like I don't need to see that. And I feel like I don't need to see stuff like Cannibal Holocaust. I think I can live without seeing that at this point. There's a bunch of the early 2000s torture porn stuff that I'm just not interested in. Anything that makes the Warrens look like good people. I'm not, but I liked what Jody said a few weeks ago, where if you separate the real Warrens from the movie Warrens, it's like if I take that track, it might be I might be able to enjoy those movies, but I really dislike the Warrens.
Were you familiar with them before the Conjuring universe started?
Yeah. There's a podcast called Monster Talk that's run by this skeptic guy out of Atlanta, and he did a whole thing on the Warrens and how they're sort of. I don't like the idea of swindling grieving people out of money, so I'll just leave it at that.
Totally understandable. Have you seen all the Conjuring universe movies?
I've not seen any of them, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, just separate it. It's Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. That's it. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? What questions did I not ask that you wanted me to ask?
I know there's the one that you asked Jody about what do you like that other people don't, but I think I already hit on the Dead Don't Die. and like the other one, I can think of stuff that like I will recommend to people as good horror movies that are worth watching that a lot of times I get wait, what the heck is that? I've never heard of that before. But like The Devil's Backbone, which I think we touched on right at the beginning. It's one that is excellent, and it's a beautiful, just haunting movie. And then The Night of the Hunter, and there's a French one called it's either the early '60s or the '50s called Eyes Without a Face. Which when I think when I was high school, I read an interview with Clive Barker. He's like, this is the most horrifying movie I've ever seen. And at that point, it was out of print. and it's like, I can't find this. There's nowhere that I can rent it. Netflix doesn't really exist, and not that it's available on DVD anyway. And then the AFI Theater in Silver Spring, Maryland, was showing it. So we have to go see this, and we went to see it, and we're watching it. It's like, this is not horrible. And then there's a surgery scene, and it's the most horrifying thing. I don't want to go into detail, but it is one of the most effective just horror sequences I've ever seen. And Criterion put it out on DVD, so I bought it, but I haven't watched it since. But it sits on the shelf, so I know where it is.
How do you organize your horror DVDs, or is it by title, director?
Pretty much everything's alphabetical. Kids' movies are in another section. I think I split some stuff out by director just to free up space. So I've got a Kubrick and Del Toro and Hitchcock with little Funko Pops as a bookend.
Very cool. So if any other horror fans are listening out there that have kids and they want to introduce their kids to horror movies, what are the three movies that you would say they should show to their kids if they're interested?
Jaws. Although I was terrified, I never watched it until I was in college all the way through. Although we honestly might be the wrong people to ask, because we did show our kids The Fly a couple of years ago, and my youngest at the end of it was just in tears. She was just like, "This is so sad." I'm like, I never watched this movie thinking that, but she's absolutely right. Like the Fly is just heartbreaking and really gooey. But so I don't know. That might not be a good choice. But with them, it's just been kind of like, they'll find something that they're interested in and like, oh, can we watch this? I'm like, okay. But I mean, we showed my youngest kid The Birds about a month ago, and that was a mistake. She got a little freaked out by that, especially in the last hour of it. And but she's seen Psycho and didn't have any problems with it. And she's seen Jaws multiple times, like 3 times in the theater, starting from when she was about 7. So I don't know. It's like, you kind of have to know your kid, or just show them The Fly. It's like, do we really want to start with Cronenberg?
I mean, just start with Saw.
Yeah, and like the Saw movies, I've not watched. And
I've only seen the first one, but I won't watch any of the others.
Yeah, I did have someone recommend that I watch Saw 2, after my mother died. He was like, you should watch Saw 2 to get over it. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. I kind of see where you're coming from, but that's not a good idea.
All right, well, I have some rapid fire questions. If you could remake one horror movie right now, which would it be?
Ooh, one horror movie right now. I want to see a remake of. Actually, I want to see another Salem's Lot. Or no. Let me bring it all the way back. I want to see Dracula remade. I want to see Dracula remade in like as a period piece, set in 1898, without the overly theatrical Coppola stuff. I want to just see like a dirty London turn of the century Dracula movie, and I don't think that's been done. I think Bram Stoker's Dracula might be the closest, but I don't think that's exactly what it would. And then do Salem's Lot with the same cast.
Do you hold any unpopular horror movie opinions?
I really like The Dead Don't Die. I don't know. I like to try to find something positive in everything we watch, and so I try not to really like hate any movie. This is seriously going to lead into Cats. I think Cats is the scariest movie of the year of 2020.
I think it came out last year, but
2019. I think it's the scariest movie of the decade. I think everyone needs to see it because it's unlike anything. There are images in that movie that you've never seen before. I don't know where they came from, and it is, and then you can never get them out of your brain. They'll live there forever, and occasionally you'll just think about cats.
Agreed. Yeah, I saw that. I saw it right after Christmas in a sold out movie theater in the basement of a theater in New York City, and there was singing along. I'm pretty sure half the audience was drunk.
Well, I mean, half our entire 75% of our audience was drunk, and there were only 4 of us watching it.
Well, I mean, it was just so much fun. Like, the movie was bad, but like the score is good. And like, we left the theater, everyone left the theater together, going up the escalator, singing Mr. Mistopheles. So it was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I would own it. I would actually trick people into watching it in our backyard.
You should. You should invite them over for Blair Witch and then put on Cats.
Or possibly Blair Witch, just put on Blair Witch 2. Hopefully not everyone you talk to talks about Blair Witch. I haven't listened to the second episode yet.
No, there's no Blair Witch talk in the second episode, just the first episode so far. But maybe that'll be a theme. That'll be one of my rapid fire questions. It'll be like, so what do you think about the Blair Witch? Or the Blair Witch 2? If you had to spend quarantine with one horror villain, who would it be?
Outside of the ones who supposedly live here, I don't know. I mean, Hannibal Lecter makes great food. Or is he a villain? Well, I guess in the TV series he might not actually be the villain, but so I went with him instead of Leatherface because I just can't eat that much barbecue.
Have you ever traveled abroad and seen any horror movie sites?
I don't know about sites. I did 6 weeks in Ireland in college, and then we did a trip. We spent a week in Scotland, 2004. In April. So we didn't really see any sights, but we did go see Shaun of the Dead when it was playing in the UK, like 6 months before it came out here.
Mm-hmm.
Saw a bunch of train spotting locations, and we went to Loch Ness, which was great because you kind of see around the area that nobody who lives there believes in the monster, but they really believe in tourist money.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. All right. Well, this has been so much fun. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
An undisclosed location. I'll just say on Instagram, we'll go there. It's just Punch Boogie Blues is the handle.
Awesome. And don't worry, I'll put his Burkittsville address in the show notes for this episode, so you can go find him and he can give you a tour around the Blair Witch. Yeah,
I have had people. I have had people sent here by my sister-in-law and other people in town to asking, like, just go talk to him. He'll point you in the right direction. But this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for chatting with me. I will see you next week at trivia.
Yeah, should be able to do that. And thanks for letting me talk about cats there at the end. So,
of course, I agree. It is the best horror movie of 2019.
Absolutely terrifying.
Oh, so good. So good. All right. I'll talk to you soon, Michael. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
That's it for this week's episode of Who's There. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Michael, and thanks again to Michael for coming on. Hopefully this episode inspired you to watch Dead Alive or The Devil's Backbone, which you can stream on Shudder right now. Or at the very least, it's convinced you to show your kids Final Destination the night before they fly to Europe on a class trip. As always, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to our feed wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Who's There Pod, or on Instagram at Who's There Podcast, or you can feel free to shoot us an email at thewho'stherepod@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns, horror movie recommendations, or if you'd like to be a guest. Until next time, stay scary and wear a mask.